So today we're going to be talking about burgers, and in my opinion the best form of a hamburger is the classic diner style smash burger. And the cool thing about these things is once you get them in the pan, they only take about 2 minutes to cook. So not only are they the best version, they're also probably the easiest as well. And if I'm being fully honest, I'm not really a big fan of those kind of modernist, pretentious, gentrified burger places. They're really expensive and usually they're pretty underwhelming. Give me a burger from a place like this any day over one of those places. And that's the version that we're going to be making today, the classic all-American hamburger. And I've also got a great recipe in this video for some crispy oven fries as well, because what burger meal is complete without a side of fries? So with that, we've got a lot of work to do, so let's get to it. Okay, to get started, we're going to get our bacon ready because what's more all-American than a bacon cheeseburger? And the best way to do bacon is on a sheet tray. And this is how restaurants do it because one, this is the easiest way to prepare large amounts, but this method also works best for even cooking. Bacon done on the stovetop sometimes awkwardly curls up, and with most stovetop pans being round, the shape isn't the most practical either. So once you've got your bacon all panned up, load it into a preheated 400-degree oven, and it's going to take 15 to 20 minutes in there. So while that's going, let's get our potatoes ready. And I'm just going to be using regular russet potatoes here because these are the ones that crisp up best when it comes to making French fries. So after peeling them, a little bit of a safety tip here is to cut off one side, then turn the potato onto that side and cut your rows out from that position. Obviously, the last thing you want here is for the potato to slip out from under you and you to accidentally catch part of your hand under the knife. So creating a flat surface gives stability to prevent this from happening. And for the cut size itself, I'm going for roughly a ½ inch in thickness, and while I'm at it, I'm going to give the fries a good rinse to remove the excess surface starch. Rinsing them off like this will prevent them from browning too quickly, and actually a lot of chefs soak them in ice water for 30 minutes or so because that helps them retain their shape as well during deep frying, which can be a bit rough on potatoes when they're initially dropped in the fryer with all the rustling around and all that, but that isn't as much of a concern here because on the sheet tray they're not going to be rattling around and clanging against each other like they would be in a fryer. So in this case, slowing the browning reaction is the main reason for doing this. And jumping back over to check in on the bacon, it's been in the oven for about 15 minutes and I'd say these are looking pretty good, so we can set these aside for now to cool down. So I'm not gonna lie, I'm sort of one of those freaks when it comes to bacon that I kind of like my snacking bacon to be a little bit less than well done, maybe somewhere in the medium range. But when it comes to sandwiches, you really do want the bacon to be well done because the texture plays more of a role than the flavor does. But you also have to be very careful when cooking bacon this way because it will go from perfectly cooked to dried out, burned, and bitter in no time. So keep an eye on this stuff when it's in the oven. Okay, shifting back over to our fries, after draining them off, make sure to blot them dry before panning them up to go into the oven. We don't need any excess water creating steam inside the oven and preventing them from browning up altogether. So if you've kept up with everything to this point, don't skip this step. And after removing the excess moisture and making sure that the fries are relatively dry, lay down a sheet of parchment paper onto a sheet tray, and this is going to help prevent the fries from sticking to the pan, which they would do if you were to just raw dog them straight onto the pan. So with the parchment layer set up, we want to get this as close to a deep fried French fry as we can, so that means not skimping on oil usage. Put down a good amount before the fries, then add the fries and follow that up with even more oil. The fries aren't going to crisp up properly without an adequate amount of oil, so if you shortchange this, your fries probably won't turn out the way you want them to. And after tossing them with the oil until they're evenly coated, try to space them out individually, and while it is ideal to not overcrowd the pan, a higher oven temperature along with rearranging them a few times during cooking should compensate if they are a bit overcrowded like mine are here. And with that, load them into the same 400-degree oven as the bacon from earlier. And speaking of bacon, I've stumbled upon some, and you know what? Fuck it, why the hell not? Okay, for the burger itself, I'm just using regular 80-20 ground beef, and I've got 2 patties here. I think 2 patty burgers are better than 1 because you get more browning, more caramelization, and therefore more flavor. And when we smash these things down on the stovetop, they are gonna end up slightly overlapping the edges of the bun itself. And the biggest mistake that people make with burgers is actually overworking the patties, because even though the meat is ground up, the proteins within can still chain themselves back together. And then when you actually go to cook the burger itself, the bonded proteins within will actually constrict and tighten up and toughen up the burger. So when you go to eat it, you're just gonna chew and chew and chew and chew. So all you wanna do here is just barely kind of shape it out. to where it's gonna hold its shape, and that's it. That's all you wanna do with it. So the fries have been in the oven for about 45 minutes now, and you can see that they are fully cooked right now, but like I mentioned in the intro, the burgers only take a couple of minutes to cook, so it's important to have everything done prior to starting the burgers. And then when it actually comes time to cook the burgers, all you have to do is toss them back into the oven just before starting the burgers, and they'll take about the same amount of time to crisp back up as it does to cook the burgers. And it's also worth mentioning that you can toss them in one of these things and place them in the refrigerator overnight, although when you do go back to reheat them, they will take a little bit longer, so maybe toss them in 5 to 10 minutes before starting the burgers. So now that we're ready to cook the burgers, we can season them up, and I'm just using a pre-made seasoned salt. It's nothing special, it's just the store-bought stuff. You could use this or kosher salt if you want. But once you get these things seasoned up, we can head over to the stove top, and since my stove gets a bit crowded when filming, I'm gonna toast the bun first, although I usually do this at the same time along with the burgers. So with a non-stick pan preheated on medium heat, add a small amount of butter along with 1 burger bun and toast it until it's golden brown on both sides. And this looks pretty good to me, so back to our burgers, place the largest saute pan you have over your biggest burner and set the heat to high. Allow the pan to fully heat up, then add a small amount of any high smoke point oil, then place both burgers in the pan while making sure to give them enough space to fully flatten out. And make sure that you use non-stick spray on whatever tool you're using to do this. And while I actually have this ridiculously oversized spatula for this very thing, I recommend using the bottom of a sauce pot over something that's too small here because the splattering stuff from the pan is very hot, so using gloves and the appropriate tool is important here. And you might notice the burgers coming loose and wanting to separate to some degree, but don't worry about this. Searing them off will create a crust that will hold them together, and this is going to be far better than a tough, dried out burger that was overworked before cooking. And about 3/4 of the cooking is going to be done on the first side prior to flipping, and once you start seeing that crust really set in along the edges, it's time to flip the burgers. And I'm going to swap out the large spatula for a more practical smaller one here, and you want to carefully peel the burgers up, making sure not to break them apart. And if you had the heat high enough and you gave them adequate time to brown up, this shouldn't be that hard. And you can actually see on my second patty here that one of the edges is trying to break away, but since I took the time to make sure the crust developed properly, it's going to hold together. And once you get them both flipped over, top them with whatever cheese you like. I'm using white cheddar because that's my personal favorite on a burger. And because I don't really have the chance to readjust the lights and cameras right now to get a good shot of the fries coming out of the oven, this awkward corner angle will have to do. And since we can see the cheese beginning to melt on the patties, we can take them out of the pan and set them aside for now. And with the burgers all finished up, we can get the fries finished up as well. And these just need to be tossed with a bit of salt, and that's it. And while we're at it, let's check the audio clip to make sure these things came out crispy. Yeah, those are crispy. And with that, everything's cooked and ready to go, so we can get this thing plated up. And if you've got one of these cool diner-style basket liners, start with that. Then place the toasted bun down and add a few traditional burger toppings such as sliced tomatoes, thinly sliced red onions, and some torn green leaf lettuce. And follow those up with both burger patties, and I would say add the bacon here, but I was slightly asleep at the wheel here and forgot to do that until the cameras were off, so forgive me for that. I guess just kind of try to imagine the bacon being there if that helps. But you probably won't forget the bacon like I did, but the last step is to fill the basket up with French fries. And with that, we've got the delicious all-American burger and fries. And that's the end of the video, so as always, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.